Our first keynote is called How to Go from Local to Global. So you're going to get tons of tips on that, and we hope that's relevant for a lot of you here. Olivier Fecherolle, he's the Chief Strategy and Development Officer at Viadio, where he has worked formerly as CMO since 2008. Please welcome Olivier to the stage.
Is it working? Yeah, okay. Hello, everybody. So as you noticed on the agenda, I was not the initial first speaker, but it seemed that the first speaker had a hard night, so I will have the hard task to open the session and to try to wake you up also. So yeah, the topics of today is how to become local from global, so maybe a few words of introduction. I'm working at Viadio. Viadio is a professional social network, the second largest professional social network with 45 million members. But I would say that compared to our US competitor, we selected a different approach. This approach, because we think that local and localization is really key. It's really a key success factors in this business. And I will try to show you how we manage this local factor in the development of the company. So maybe to start with, I'm sure you recognize these guys. I think that we always have, as a French company, initially some issues about how do you want to compete with big US guys. And I think that this picture explains quite well the feeling that every French guy have at the beginning. But it's not because you have this feeling at the beginning that you have not the opportunity to have a global thinking and a global vision. And it's also something that you need to have a clear view on the future. Yeah, oops. Okay. So this is our new president, and I'm sure you also be informed that he had some big problems the day he was introduced. But despite these disadvantages, we try to think from the beginning of how to become a global player. So basically, a few words about what is a professional social network. A professional social network is made of three main usage. The first one, obviously, is the social network in a professional context. We are all here in a professional way. We want to introduce, not on Facebook or Contacter, we like to show our professional side, our professional presence, and it's important that you engage with people that will really help you on a day-to-day basis. That's one step why we think also that local aspect is key. The second one is about business. It's about finding customers, finding suppliers, finding partners, finding investors, and it's also a point where local aspect is key because much of the time your ecosystem is made of local content. And the third part is about career management. And I'm sure that in this room, there's, of course, many people that can travel and work abroad. But I would say that the general labor market is much focused on local issues. So for these three reasons, we really thought from the beginning that we need to consider local in our development plan. Okay, but it's not enough, because in our business, size matters, because your network is efficient if there's this critical mass. And we needed also to reach some level of size in the countries where we operate. So basically, how do we jump from zero at the early beginning when we created the company in France under the Viadio branding to reach the 45 million members that we have now? So just a few words. We have a global presence, but we really wanted to focus on some key countries. So we operate in France and Europe, South Europe. We operate in China. We're #1 player in China with our brand called Tianji. Now it's 10 on the slide, but it's now almost 12 million members of professional in China. We operate in South America, and we opened, beginning of the year, a JV with our Sanoma friends in Russia and CIS countries. So let's get global. What are our key factors that we use. So we use basically three things. So let me go through this. The first one is what we call the viral growth. I'm sure that you're familiar with that, but maybe just show you a slide on that. So yeah, basically this, I'm sure you're familiar with that, but maybe a quick reminder that you will have the best opportunity for you to get members is to use members during the registration process, during the moment where they are registering on your side. So this is basically the viral loop. There's a lot of books on that, but it's something that definitely you should focus on. With one basic KPI to follow is if one user brings you more than one user, you're viral. If one user brings you less than one user, you're growing, but you're not viral. So that's maybe the only KPI you should follow in order to grow your member base and improve every step of this process to make sure that you will optimize the time that the user will spend on your site and encourage him to invite and to attract other users. So it's not so much a question of money, of marketing dollar. It's really about how do I manage this process so I make the site really attractive for new users. Second thing is that local is not just about translation. I'm sure that you agree on that, but let's go through some examples. You know this famous example of McDonald's that despite being a global product, the big success is to have the opportunity to adapt to local specialties. So as John Travolta was saying in the Pulp Fiction movie, yeah, you can drink beer in McDonald's in Paris, which is maybe uncommon, but it's something that is real, and you have to take these little differences into account. And if we have a look at the business side, I would say that these little differences are much higher and much important to take into consideration. Let's have a look about timing. Timing in China is something that is not exactly the same sensitive of the timing in Europe. I take the Chinese example because, as I told you, we are a big player in China, and maybe that's a place where the cultural differences are so big. So punctuality is one point, but it's not only that, and it's also about expression. When you want to say something, let's say Europe, even if we can, I'm sure, find small differences inside Europe, but let's take Europe on one side. When you want to express yourself, you will be far more direct than in China. It means that on your site, if you don't allow the opportunity to a Chinese member to express himself using the way he is familiar with, your site won't look local. In the business, the notion of who's my boss and what's my relationship with my boss is also something very, very different. A Chinese member will need to have a big emphasis and big respect in the way he's talking to his boss, which is maybe less the case in Europe and also less the case in startups mode in Europe. And we can go like this, showing other examples. I will just use 2 or 3 more. The non-verbal communication is also something that I'm sure you're familiar with that. Okay, and second point is about growing, about M&A or JV. That's clearly a route that we selected from the beginning. We selected this road because we believe that in some point, if you want to succeed in a market, you need to know this market, and there's no other opportunity than buying a local player that knows exactly how this market is working. That's exactly what we did in China. We acquired this company called Tianji. Tianji is really a Chinese professional social network made by Chinese for Chinese people. The site is really different, even if the same concept, it's the same purposes, it's the same global usage proposition, but the site is different because it needed to take into account the local needs. Second example is Russia, and we opened viadeo.ru with a JV with our Sanoma friends. And clearly also that was the part of the deal of the JV. We bring the platform, we bring the knowledge, we bring all what help us to make a viral platform for professional social network. But we didn't know the Russian and CIS market. So that's what that was the basis of this JV. Our Sanoma partners help us to know, well, what are the important influencers in Russian business, how to get in touch with them and to provide local services. So that was, I would say, what we used in Viadeo to become a global player. So maybe just to conclude a few words on why we think that it's only the beginning of the way that professional social network will face another revolution. It's already the case that professional social network have changed a lot the way you manage your career and you recruit and you can find talents. We've came to a world where you have active job seekers and people that were hard to reach, but now I would say that everybody is a potential candidate, and thanks to professional social network you can have access to. It's really something that is a disruptive mode in the recruiting area. And once again, recruiting markets are really local because that's where the workforce is. Second example is also on the way that you are currently working in a company, promoting your company, where is your value, where is your influence, and for that we provide services like company pages or groups or hubs that will help you as a company to promote in a different way.
May I have your attention, please?
Yes, to promote.
All the stars who want to know whether they got into the 6 finalists, please, in 5 minutes, join the main stage in order to hear Patrick Deleuve announce the second and final 6 finalists of the startup competition. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, and appreciate that you make the timing on pause. That's really, yeah, super job. Okay, so yeah, professional social network is also having an impact on the way you consider working in a company, promoting this company, promoting your ecosystem, and that's also something that we have to take into account in the product. So I just mentioned company pages or way to encourage dialogue and conversation with your audience. But once again, this is something that is mainly happening locally. And the last part is obviously something that we sometimes, with our Eastern view, want to or have a trend to forget, is that there's a lot of professional, and it's not just about white collar. A blue collar or this lady that is having a business in India should have a value proposition in a professional social network. Clearly, it's not the case yet, because professional social networks are more, I would say, blue-collar driven, but we think, and that's our ambitions in the way we are building new mobile apps, in the way that we are interacting with partners, that we think that in the future, every professional on Earth should find value on the professional social network. So to conclude, I would like to encourage you to have a look to a video that this gal, Sol Klein from Index Ventures, just gave a few years ago. So it's free advertising for Index. They are not in our capital, so it's really because I like this speech. And this speech was called "No Excuses," and I think it's a good way to close this speaking slot by saying that, in fact, in Europe, if you think to my first slide, we sometimes have like a sort of complex or sort of difficulty to compete with US, and he gave us a few years ago. Again, it's a video that you can find on YouTube. You just type "No Excuses Sol Klein Index," and I'm sure you will find it very easily. He gave us these 6 points that I find very very interesting in the current context. Europe has no shortage of talents, and I think the audience today and the IDCEE just demonstrate that there's a lot of talented people in Europe, so nothing to fear from the Silicon Valley. There is some sophisticated venture capital. Once again, this is maybe the best example with all the VC that are partners to the IDCEE conference. Thanks to the new cloud-based and easy access to technology, there's no big cost to launch a new company. There's strong networks in Berlin, in Paris, in London, in Kiev, in Moscow, where you can find the ecosystem. So Europe in itself is also a big market. So we often say, yeah, but US have an unfair advantage because they have a big local market. It's true, but we have also a market. There's some differences to take into account, and I think that yesterday was perfectly clear on the fact that you cannot consider France, UK, or Russia as the same market, but globally we are a market. So it's really something that we have to take in mind. Let's not compete, I would say, frankly, with US guys, but know how to play well with them, and I'm sure that it will ensure a big success for all European startups. Okay, so there am I. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Well done.